All right, it's that time of the week, time for your favorite show, the NFC West Huddle. And if it's not, I don't want to hear it. Humor me, right? This is my story and I'm sticking to it. It's time to check in on the rest of the NFC West, all the teams that are still in the playoffs except for my team here in Arizona. I'm Richard Sines, representing the Arizona Cardinals. In San Francisco, we got my man Keyshawn Ward. He's such a baller. His suit's made from Nike, so he can still work out right after the show. You got Gerard in L.A. talking about the Rams and no longer the Chargers, but still, he's talking about all things L.A. And in Seattle, it's the Aaron Levine, the Jeopardy champion. We'll find out if he thinks the Seattle Seahawks are in jeopardy now that they have to play a game after having the bye week, right? So let's get right to it. Wow, wow, wow. What a wild card weekend. Great way to start the NFL playoffs. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think was the best first round wild card win out there for any team? Aaron, you got to just sit back and watch and relax because, you know, you guys got the first round bye. What was the first win in the wild card? You're like, wow, that was impressive.
Yeah, I think you can interpret the word impressive in a whole lot of ways. Impressive in terms of dominance, and a lopsided win likely goes to the Texans or Patriots. Impressive in terms of the most unexpected probably goes to the 49ers. Impressive in terms of hanging in there and pulling out a win even though they were expected to win by double digits. That goes to the Rams. But let's be honest, I think in terms of impressive actually being the incredible fourth quarter comeback by the Chicago Bears. Most people thought this game was over by halftime. The Packers leading that one 21-3. It was still 21-6 going into the fourth quarter. And I understand that it has been the Bears' MO this season, but the fact that Caleb Williams in his first career playoff game was able to engineer 3 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter, that was impressive. We were all ready to host the Packers here in Seattle this week. Just an absolute disaster for Matt LaFleur, and I think it really helped legitimize the Bears this season. And it makes you wonder if they actually have a chance this weekend against the Rams, which I know we're going to get to in just a bit.
Yeah, I got to say San Francisco going into Philly, the defending champs. Gerard was telling people to put the mortgage payment on it. And, you know, I was trying to tell you, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you I'm taking San Francisco plus the points. You got to go with quarterback play, right? Brock Purdy's been there, done that. I know. Same with Philadelphia, but they just weren't the Philadelphia Eagles that we know heading into the postseason. And I think the 49ers jumped on him. Christian McCaffrey, absolutely fantastic once again. So, Keyshawn, I want to check in with you. Great win for your San Francisco 49ers, I think, going into hostile territory, dethroning the champs. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Richard, there's no question. The Niners win over the Philadelphia Eagles was easily the most impressive win wild card weekend. I mean, it was a coaching mismatch between the Niners coaching staff and the Eagles coaching staff. I mean, granted, the Eagles, they didn't score in the second half for the 6th time this season, which is impressive with the mastery that the Niners have. And let's be honest, I'm sure most Niner fans were ready to pack it in once George Kittle tore his Achilles. But guess what? Literally the next play, Brock Purdy throws a 45-yard bomb for Juwan Jennings, and it's just like, man, this team just continues to prevail throughout any circumstance. It doesn't matter who they have out there on the field. They always find a way to make plays, and it shows the unity that they have throughout the season. I mean, look at this stat right here. The Niners, their 6 highest players on the rosters have missed 60% of snaps. So when you have guys like DeMarcus Robinson, who's being an all-pro corner, and Quinyon Mitchell, or then Kyle Juszczyk continue pushing the chains, it just shows that this team just always finds a way to make plays when it matters. And while we're talking about making plays when it matters, Brock Purdy, yes, he threw 2 interceptions, but man, that guy is a gunslinger. He makes plays when it matters most, when you make that game-winning drive. And then we can't forget to mention Juwan Jennings. He showed everybody why he was he was a higher-rated quarterback than Joe Burrow and Sam Darnold back in high school with that fantastic throw when he got blasted by Jalen Carter and then Christian McCaffrey, cherry on the top. That Willie Mays type catch in the end zone, that was a quite impressive feat. When you got guys on the other side of the field with the Philadelphia Eagles, A.J. Brown dropping multiple passes in that game, but man, this Niners win was, in my opinion, the reason why Kyle Shanahan is the coach of this year.
Yeah, and that was a very impressive catch by Christian McCaffrey. That's why he's on the Chimichangas and helped the Chimichangas go all the way to the Super Bowl. All right, Gerard, let's check in with you. Before we check in with you, I just want to show you, I wrote it in my diary You were talking about the Eagles. They were postseason ready. They had fine-tuned their game. And I want to thank you because I took the Rams in my Survivor League, and then they won. And my only opponent, he listens to you. He loves you. He took the Eagles, so now I won the Survivor pool. So thank you very much. Give us your thoughts on the wild card weekend.
I give massive props to the 49ers. I mean, what an incredible game that was. But for me, I'm going to step back to what Aaron said earlier about dominance. And to me, the dominant performance was the reason I'm here today was New England's win 16-3 over the Chargers. Now, the Chargers went into that game a 3.5-point underdog. New England was a favorite, but they were dominated, and no one saw what New England's defense was going to be able to do to the Charger offense. Charger offense, 207 yards. Even when they got the ball deep in New England territory after turnovers, they were not able to score touchdowns. Justin Herbert sacked 6 times, looked completely lost when he did have time. And this is the cherry on top for me. New England linebacker Robert Spillane said on the podium, you never hear this, that Charger players, offensive players, were coming up to him after the game and saying, man, you guys had a great defensive game plan. We had no idea what coverage you were in. You never hear guys say that. That just shows you how dominant New England's defense was. It's the reason Greg Roman got fired. The Chargers weren't close, losing for a third straight wild card round game. And when I asked both Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz, the Charger GM and head coach, about what I said about what Robert Spillane said on the podium, they just basically went around it because it was embarrassing. I mean, that's how good New England's defense was in the game. And you got to give Zach Kerr, their interim defensive coordinator for the Patriots, a lot of credit. So for me, it was what New England did against the Chargers. That was the most impressive wild card win.
Yeah, the old saying always seems to be true, right? Defense wins championships, offense wins games, but the defense is what gets it done. And speaking of defense, you got a pretty good defense there in Seattle. We'll talk about Seattle's first game of this postseason coming up after the break. All right, it's the second segment of the NFC West Huddle. In the first segment, we were talking about what wins in the playoffs, and that's defense. And that's one thing the Seattle Seahawks have, right? So let's talk about that NFC West showdown. We got Seattle taking on San Francisco, playing host to San Francisco. Aaron, I know, look, you guys got the Pope on your side, right? You got a new Pope in 05. You're the number 1 seed, you go to the Super Bowl. New Pope in 2013, number 1 seed, go to the Super Bowl. 2025, new Pope, number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Are you already making Super Bowl plans? Tell us about this Seattle-San Francisco game and divine intervention on your side.
I mean, when you have divine intervention, there's nothing else that needs to be said. I think we're going to be going to the Super Bowl either way. I mean, that's what's going to happen. I think the Sam Darnold storyline is going to get the most play, at least nationally, and I understand that. And it just came out today that he is questionable for this game with an oblique injury. That just minutes ago. So we're going to keep an eye on that as the weekend progresses. Can Sam Darnold win a playoff game? I think he absolutely can, as long as he avoids turnovers, which we all know he's prone to do. But I really think this game's going to be won in the trenches yet again, and it comes down to the Seahawks' ability to limit Christian McCaffrey. Just 23 rushing yards in Week 18. It was one of the lowest totals of his career. The Seahawks have now gone 26 consecutive games without allowing a 100-yard rusher. That is a franchise record. But it's also more than that. It's their ability to limit McCaffrey in the passing game as well. Just 34 receiving yards 2 weeks ago. That was 40 yards fewer than in Week 1 against Seattle. And consider this, McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson were the top 2 running backs in the league in receiving yards this season. The Seahawks held Robinson to just 8 receiving yards in their game in Atlanta. So I understand that the Niners are a great story, beating the odds. They have Trent Williams, Ricky Pearsall back. They might even have Fred Warner too, even though he wasn't at practice one day this week. At the end of the day, I don't think Kyle Shanahan can crack the code against this dark side defense. And then there's the rest factor. The Seahawks with 13 days between games, the Niners with just 5 days between games. Teams with that large a rest advantage in playoff games are a perfect 7-0 all time. Advantage Seattle.
Wow. Okay, I hope you just didn't jinx Seattle. I mean, I know you guys got the Pope and divine. I'm a Catholic boy. I went to the University of Incarnate Word, so I believe in that stuff. So I don't know. You could have just jinxed your team there. All right, Keyshawn, what are your thoughts on this game? You know, you heard Aaron kind of mention it. Can Sam Darnold win a playoff game? Last week I talked about it. In the playoffs, you need strong quarterback play, and we saw it with Matthew Stafford. We saw it with Josh Allen. And, you know, C.J. Stroud, he didn't play well. The Houston Texans got lucky because of their defense. Can the Seattle defense carry Sam Darnold? He has a similar game.
You know, Richard, I'm not going to lie, man. Aaron just threw me off. Did he just say that Sam Darnold is questionable with the oblique injury? Oh, my God. Like, when I heard that, my entire prediction for this game completely changed because I was literally going to talk about how Sam Darnold has to make pivotal throws down the field in order to win this game. But, oh, my God. Like, this Niners story is, like, unbelievable. Like, I've never seen a team so destined to win these kind of games. Like, yes, Seattle's well-rested, having 13 days off, and they're waiting for the Niners to come into Lumen Field. But, oh, my God, like, if you have a hurt Sam Darnold, it's like the Niners just continue to get this hope. It's just crazy. But, anyway, in order for the Niners to win this game, I'm sorry for going on that long rant, but in order for the Niners to win, they got to win on the money down. They got to win on third down. They were 2 for 9 against Seattle in that Week 18 matchup, and then they got to win time possession. It's so crazy. The Niners in Week 1, they won time possession with 37 minutes, and Seattle had 22 minutes. Then in Week 18, it's like a completely flip. Seattle has 37 minutes of time possession, and Niners had less than 25 minutes time possession. So those things really matter, and obviously the turnover margin. If they want to have any chance, the Niners don't want to have too many turnovers against the Seattle defense. And also, I find it kind of funny. If you look online on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, it seems like everybody thinks that JSN has his way with DeAndre Lenore, but ironically, Lenore's been doing well against JSN in their recent matchups. I mean, he had no catches against him in Week 18. I know Robert Saleh is not really a big fan of having his corners follow the receivers, but JSN does work against Ronaldo Green on the other side, so that's something to keep in mind for Robert Saleh going to this matchup. But wow, man, that news right there, it's like, if you believe in fairy tales and Cinderella story, ride with the Niners. But if you want to go reality and just a better, healthy personnel, ride with Seattle. But man, that is a crazy update, Aaron.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't believe in fairy tales.
And that's how we do it on this show. We break news. We're breaking stories here. Gerard, you've seen a team go all the way to the Super Bowl and host the Super Bowl in L.A. Can San Francisco do it and host the Super Bowl in San Fran this year? What are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's going to be tough for the 49ers because they're coming out of that fist fight, man. And let's face it, they lost George Kittle in that fist fight. So they're banged up. Seattle's fresh. Advantage Seattle on that end. I'm going to agree with Aaron. The Niners' best opportunity is Christian McCaffrey has got to have a great game. As Aaron said, 8 carries, 23 yards in the first game. That puts all the pressure on Brock Purdy. And in that game in Week 18, it made him look pedestrian. It made him look like Mr. Irrelevant, like he was the last pick in the draft. He had a QB rating of 22.8 in that game. They were 2 for 9 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. They just didn't have a chance. So those factors offensively have got to be much improved for them to even have an opportunity to be in this game. It'll be way worse than 13-3 if those two factors are for the Niners are not better. And on the flip side of that, Seattle's got to keep the recipe going. They ran for 180 yards in Week 18 against the 49ers. You do that, you keep Sam Darnold out of the third and long, out of the trouble down where he turns the ball over. And if he doesn't turn the ball over, you've got to like Seattle's chances to host the NFC Championship game at Lumen Field, whether it's against the Bears or the Rams.
All right, speaking of the Rams, we'll talk about the Rams going to Chicago and trying to win one in hostile territory and also battling the elements, the weather as well. That's coming up right after the break. All right, we are back and we're talking NFC West. We're talking NFL playoffs. We're talking Rams at Bears. Gerard, you talked about, week one being a fist fight for San Francisco. I thought we were going to have a fist fight at the end of the Bears game with Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. Is he going to do the same with Mike LaFleur? When now they're taking on what is it against the LaFleur family that Ben Johnson just hates these guys? Just give us your thoughts on this Rams-Bears game. Of course, look, I wrote it in my diary. I am still scared of L.A. I just don't know about you guys. So what do you think about the Rams upsetting the Bears there? The Rams are actually favored by 4 points in this game.
They are, Richard, and they should be. They're the best offensive team in the NFL. And obviously it's supposed to be sub-freezing temperatures and wind at Soldier Field on a Sunday evening. But you know what? Run games carry the day in bad weather. And the Rams have the #1 run game according to Next Gen Stats on first down, which is the key. I mean, if your run game is solid on first down, then your quarterback is always ahead of the chains. And for Matthew Stafford, that's a blessing. That makes the game easy for him, and it doesn't even matter what the weather is. But here's the key to the game. It's called 13 personnel. This is what the Rams do. They run 3 tight ends on occasion, okay? Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, Terrence Ferguson, Davis Allen. Now, that sets up the stretch run game or the counter plays to both Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, who are both, by the way, used to playing in cold weather, Notre Dame and Michigan. The Ram run game going up against the Bears defense on the ground, which is in the lower third of the league, is the huge advantage in this game for the Rams. The Rams are going to be able to run the football, and that's why they're going to win the game despite the weather. I've heard so much talk about the weather. I was at the Rams practice facility yesterday, and Sean McVay just smiled and winked about it. He's all, you know what? We're not going to even get into that. We're not going to let that be an issue for us. He brought up 2 games last year in really cold weather. The Jets game in New York, which the Rams won, and then we all saw what happened in the divisional game against Philadelphia. They were basically 1 play away from advancing to the NFC Championship game on an icy cold day at the lake. So the Rams are not going to be intimidated by the weather. They're going to go head-to-head with the Bears, and they're going to be able to run the football, and that's why they're going to win the game.
You know, Gerard, I tell this to everybody. You're a great guy. We just need to work on your confidence. If you were a little bit more confident, I think you would have a future in this business. But, hey, all right, Aaron, what are your thoughts on Gerard guaranteeing a victory? Just get the Rams ring finger sizes already because they're going to win the Super Bowl, according to Gerard.
Well, I think to Gerard's point about the weather, I'm trying to figure out how much the weather storyline actually factors into this game. Sure, it's going to be freezing, and yes, I think the Bears have a much better chance to win at Soldier Field in these kind of conditions than indoors. But all of this stuff about Sean McVay's record or Matthew Stafford's record in freezing weather, I think that's all overblown. I mean, make what you want about Stafford's record in freezing conditions, but also consider he played 6 seasons in Detroit with a Lions team that wasn't very good to begin with. So his completion percentage might drop in these kind of conditions, but I wouldn't make too much about his record in these conditions. And I think Sean McVay, he's 2-2 in these kinds of games, but 3 of those games were with Jared Goff, the California native, as his quarterback. So the bigger question for me is the Rams' ability to play a full 60 minutes on the road. Remember, they lost at Carolina the first time. They gave up the lead to the Seahawks in Seattle and lose in overtime in that Thursday night game. They lose the following week at Atlanta, and then they almost lose to the Panthers again in Charlotte, this time as a 10-point favorite last week. So aside from their games against the Cardinals, the Rams really have not been able to assert their dominance over any opponent on the road in a couple of months now. And I'm not sure this is a game in these conditions at a Bears team. The Bears are going to be fired up after last week. That I'm not sure all of that is a recipe for that to happen. I think this is going to be a close game. I think a field goal will likely determine it. But I think the Rams still pull this one out.
All right, why'd you have to bring up the Cardinals? Why'd you have to hit me like that, man? Okay, I'm putting that in my diary. I'm going to remember that. Aaron kicking me while I'm down. All right,
sorry about that.
I get it. Maybe I deserve that. All right, Keyshawn, what are your thoughts on this Rams-Bears game? You can't mention the Cardinals.
Well, Aaron, you just said you don't believe in destiny, but I mean, you just mentioned it. The Rams have not played a complete game, and we've been seeing the Chicago Bears having these crazy, chaotic, fourth quarter comeback. What is it now, 7? And we just need the Rams to have that complete game. Well, they're going against a team that gets hot in the second half, so just keep in mind of that. And I know you don't really believe into the whole, the conditions, the elements, but Stafford is 1-9 in his last 10 games in rain or snow. The Rams are 2-8 in Chicago, and right now they're saying this game's gonna feel like to be about 9 degrees or lower than that. So just be concerned. The concern meter's a little high for me, but I do agree though. I do think Sean McVay and Matt Stafford will find a way, because this Bears defense, they do create a lot of takeaways, but it's a feast or famine defense. They will get torched, and I think Stafford prevails and gets to the Rams to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, I've put it in my diary. I've told you guys since day one, anybody but L.A., but, I got to go with L.A. as well. Look, I talked about it last week. Quarterback play is huge in the postseason. You saw the game on the line. Matthew Stafford, you got to get it done. He drives them down the field, gets the job done. Josh Allen, 4 minutes left. You got to get it done. He drives down the field, gets it done. I also talked about defense being a key, right? You got to play defense. You got to stop the other team eventually, right? Vince Lombardi said it. Good offenses win games. Good defenses win championships. The Bears don't have a defense. They outscored the Packers. I don't think they're going to be able to do that with the Rams. Gerard, you also mentioned, the running game. That's very important too, especially in cold weather games. Aaron, I also agree with you about, I don't think the weather's going to play that big of a factor, especially in today's day and age. They have so many ways to combat the weather. This isn't like it's the 70s when Walter Payton was running over people that didn't want to get hit in cold weather, right? They got so many more things that they can help people out and stay warm during the game and get ready and battle the elements. So I'm going to have to go with the Rams to win this game. Vegas knows. That's why they're favored by 4 points, right? So I hate to say it, but I think the Rams are going to win. And then I think Seattle's going to win. It's tough to go against, my man Keyshawn and Christian McCaffrey, but defense once again, unless Sam Darnold doesn't play, that might be a benefit for Seattle, because then he can't blow the game. I'm kidding. He proved me wrong this year. I said he was just a guy. He turned out to be a pretty good guy this year, but we have not seen him in the playoffs. And that's a big difference, Aaron. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. The great thing is the NFC West is so relevant in the postseason, except for one team. And we don't have to go there, right? We all know, right? The elephant in the room, Arizona Cardinals. They're still looking for a coach. I told you it wasn't going to be Harbaugh. So I think they got to get Matt LaFleur or Clint Kubiak. Either way, we'll keep you posted on everything NFC West. We'll keep you posted on the big games, and we'll tune in next week. We'll have at least 2 teams in the NFC West still alive. Will it be the Rams in San Francisco? Will it be the Rams and Seattle? If you listen to the Pope, it's going to be Seattle. Divine intervention. Never underestimate the power of prayer. Right, Aaron?
Absolutely.
See you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.